is Jose Campo. I'm a former coach and wrestler, coached for over 40 years. Retired 9 years ago from teaching and coaching. I've worked in the wrestling ministry for the last 9 years, and I've been blessed to be the chaplain for the USA Wrestling Men's Freestyle Program, and blessed to live in America's finest city, San Diego, California. Just turned 71, and one of my priorities in my life, first is faith. I like to wake up when the house is still quiet, and the first thing I do is I chase after God. So I spend about an hour and a half reading Bibles and different devotions. And then if I see a devotion that I feel someone can benefit from, I send them out to coaches. I have a mentoring program with over 200 wrestling coaches and about 200 of our greatest wrestlers. And then my second main priority is my family. God has given me an amazing family to take care of and lead. And my third priority is fitness. So I try to take care of myself and go to the gym 4 to 5 days a week. I really believe that the only way that you can take care of your family is by taking care of yourself first. That's why fitness is very, very important to me. You know, I've learned that in your life you have a lot of choices to make, but the choice that you don't have is the choice of who your parents are. And I was blessed to be born to a wrestling coach. My father was the greatest high school wrestling coach in the history of New York State. And as a little boy, I had so many of my dad's wrestlers tell me that my dad was the greatest, most influential person in their life. So I said to myself, wouldn't that be cool if someday someone could say that about me? But my dad was one of those tough, hard-to-please coaches. He coached against perfection, that you could always do better. It was very hard being the son of a Hall of Fame coach, very hard. I couldn't live up to the expectations. So unfortunately, I learned all about shortcuts. And because of the shortcuts and the decisions I was making, that I was never a champion. My dad was a recruiter for West Point. We lived close to there. He thought anyone that qualified should go to West Point. So since I wasn't a success on the wrestling mat, I thought I'd make my dad proud by going to West Point. And I wanted to be a coach. And you don't go to West Point if you want to be a coach. They want you to be a military officer, a lifetime military officer. I wanted to be a coach.
A cadet will not lie, cheat, or steal, nor tolerate those who do. And it must be so without exception.
In 1976, I was involved in the largest cheating scandal in the history of any military academy. 151 of us got kicked out. And so it was national news, front page of the New York Times. I just felt that I ruined my father's reputation. That led to depression and a lot of problems in my life. 11 years of drug abuse. I saw myself as the worst of them all. And I thought there was no way that God could forgive me. I was raised in a religion where we were kind of forced to go to church every Sunday. And when I started making those poor lifestyle choices, I thought God was just like a cop writing down all the bad things that I did. And when I wasn't successful on the mat, I just thought, well, God must not love me. But then in 1985, one of my dad's best wrestlers came and told me that God wasn't mad at me, that he actually loved me and had an unbelievable plan for my life. I had never heard that before. When I became a Christian, then I started wanting to please my heavenly Father instead of my earthly father. It was just an amazing transformation, the way that I saw myself, in the way that I treated my wrestlers. And this is what I try to teach coaches and wrestlers now, that if people understood how much God really loved them, they would change the way that they live their life, that we have a loving God who wants you to do good. You know, the first 9 years of my coaching career, I was one of those win-at-all-cost coaches. But then after I became a Christian, I knew that I had to change, that I had to be more involved in their life, that I really wanted to build a relationship with my wrestlers.
I think Jose's reputation in the sport of wrestling is he's almost like the father of USA Wrestling. He is always around. If you're over at the Colorado Springs, He's always going to be there on your international trips, and he's only one phone call away, and I know that. He's called me out of the blue just to be there for me, to check in.
And he's just, just a very godly man that, wants to help other people and, just has the highest reputation of anybody I know.
It wasn't until October of last year that I gave myself to Christ. And, I think Jose had a really large role in that. And without him, for the last 8 years, doing something that he loves doing, which is just talk about Jesus, is I wouldn't be where I'm at today. So I have a lot to be thankful for Jose.
Life is all about relationships, right? So I really believe that as a wrestling coach, that it's more important that you build those relationships. Now you teach them how to be competitive. That's important, and work them hard. But there's more important things in life than getting your hand raised. Looking back at my life, I really can't believe God lets a knucklehead like me do what I'm doing. The last 9 years, I've worked with our greatest wrestlers, and it's so rewarding. Never before in the history of wrestling in our country has there been so many great Christian wrestling coaches and wrestlers. We serve an amazing God. He loves us more than ever. He's blessed us. And to do what I'm doing now, to encourage wrestlers and coaches, is the greatest thing I can ever imagine. It's the most fulfilling thing in my life. I believe when you get to heaven, God's not going to ask you how many matches did you win. I believe he's going to ask you two things. He's going to ask you, what did you do with the gifts and talents that I gave you? And number two, I believe he's going to ask, what did you do with the people that I put into your life? I just strive to make God proud, and I hope he is.